Robot bird in hand. Falls down in front of Robot Buddy. At least it's better than him pooping on my wrist. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and this time around on our redo of Generation 1 1984, we're taking a look at one of the cassette 2-packs. We have Frenzy and Laserbeak. These guys were released on shelves in 1984. They would also be around in 1985. Then that's when things get a little crazy. So in 1986, Laserbeak would be discontinued, so Frenzy would get repackaged with Rat-Bat. And then they would stay on shelves for another couple of years before being fully retired out. So that gives Frenzy here the distinction of being the only Transformer toy to be on shelves for 4 years straight. Alright, we're going to take a look at each of these guys, and we'll look at them individually to talk a little bit about them. Alright, first up we'll start with Frenzy, just kind of go in alphabetical order. Out of all the cassette guys that featured in the Generation 1 cartoon, Frenzy is often one of them that was forgotten about, though not nearly as much as Buzzsaw. Probably a lot of the difficulty in incorporating Frenzy into the series was the fact that they really didn't give much to distinct him from Rumble. So they just went with Rumble a lot. And while Frenzy does have a similar power, it is manifested differently than how it was depicted in the cartoon. And we'll get to that a little bit more when we go over his tech spec card. But we do want to show the one thing that would help for anybody that's looking for a specific Frenzy. So this one right here that you see, this is the 1984 version of Frenzy. Nope, I tell a lie, this is the 1985 version of Frenzy, because he has the rub sign on the back. But basically, if he didn't have the rub sign, he'd be a 1984 one. So an 84 and 85 Frenzy looks like this. This is a 1986 Frenzy. Now, I mean, we can ignore some of the chrome differences on their chests, just due to the fact that the chrome does wear out, and I'm willing to venture that the sticker may have also come off on this toy. But I don't recall him ever having a sticker. This was my Frenzy growing up. This is a Frenzy I bought as a collector. But one of the biggest differences that you would tell, aside from their guns, is the stickers on the legs. In 84 and 85, he did have stickers here, as you can see on his legs. After 1986, during 1986, Hasbro was going through a lot of cost-cutting changes to the Transformers. They were reducing the quality so they could still sell the toys at their normal retail price. So in this case, Frenzy lost all of his decals. Now, of course, as many of you are probably asking about the elephant in the room, why the gold weapons on this Frenzy? Well, the early released guys in 1986 were given gold-chromed weapons. So his buddy Rat-Bat would have gold guns as well, plus all 4 of the Autobot cassettes that were released that year as well also had gold guns. But those would be part of an early release. By about the time 1987 rolled around, when they'd be in their second year, they had all went back to the chrome silver look. And they never went back. Alright, at any rate, we'll take a look here at Frenzy's accessories. And they are, in fact, his guns. You see, he has one that goes either way. The wing points out in a different direction on both of them, so that's something to watch for when you're buying loose ones. There's a post on the back side of it. Those allow it to connect to his back when you don't want to use them. But otherwise, he can slide them on his hands in between these fins. And then he has his guns on him. There's not really a special way as to where the wings are supposed to go. It just depends more on how you like it. Now, of course, when buying a loose set of these guns, the biggest thing you want to watch for are these fins on the top. They are made of a rather thin plastic. They don't break very, very easily, but they do break, because I did have one break on my 86 Frenzy. And, of course, something else, if you're a major purist on it, is you do want to keep an eye on the chrome wear of the guns. So you can see this one here has a fair bit of chrome wear on it. But other than that, that's the biggest thing to watch for. Now, for Frenzy's articulation, he really doesn't have a whole lot, but of course the Generation 1 was famous for that. You could twist his arm at the shoulder all the way. His arm would stretch out to the side, about so far. He had a double-jointed elbow. You could spread his legs apart about so far, and he does have a thigh cut going for him. He also has bad spring, because he keeps kind of looking to the side there. Kind of almost like some of my friend's dogs. Transforming Frenzy is a very simple process. We rotate the arms so that they point upwards, and fold his forearms down against the shoulder, and then each one of them is going to go up here into this cavity where his head sinks into. So you sink the head in, and then you can get one arm inside like that, and we'll get the other one up there. Oh yeah, one other thing to point out to determine if you truly have an 84 and 85 figure, look at his feet. On the 84-85, the feet on Frenzy are made of metal. Whereas 86 Frenzy is plastic. Again, another cost saver. But anyway, you push the feet in like so. Turn his legs at the thigh so they face each other, and then you fold them up at the side, like so. And there you have it. Frenzy is a microcassette. And of course he does fit inside Soundwave, like all of them did. So that gave us all an extra fun play feature. Although most of the kids today would question it as a dated relic. Kind of like they do me anymore. Now, as you can imagine, Frenzy has, since he's been around for a lot of years, there have been numerous toys done on Frenzy. I don't have very many of them, but of course, even if I did have a whole lot of them, showing a video of all the different variations of Frenzy would certainly take up a video onto its own. But I do happen to have one on hand. This is the Siege version of Frenzy. He was sold in a 4-pack. He came with Wing Thing, Croc, and Scar, who were the Power Master figures to Double Dealer. So in reality, he was sold during Earthrise, and he was an exclusive online. He's kind of done up little bit more towards the 86 version because his chest is done up in gold paint. It's not chrome, it's paint. And he unfortunately did not come with his guns. But all in all, he does serve as a serviceable version of the original Frenzy. And then now we'll take a look here at Laserbeak. If I can hold him, we will take a look at Laserbeak. And of course, this is an 85 version of Laserbeak, because you can see there he has the rub sign. Laserbeak, of course, is one of the more common figures that we would see in an episode of the Transformers, as he did serve well as a long-distance reconnaissance unit due to his ability to fly. However, Laserbeak was more suited as an interrogator due to the fact that he enjoyed bullying those that were already beaten down from the field of battle. Unfortunately, most of the other Autobots and anybody else that's been at war with the Decepticons knows that Laserbeak is a coward. And it would basically take a simple lunge at him and he'd be headed for the hills. However, part of it is of his own doing, as he tried to curry favor with Megatron, thinking that he had some better skills than most. And it just winded up with him getting more and more frontline duty. And only his fear of Megatron vaporizing him with his fusion cannon keeps him from running for the hills. Alright, we'll take a quick look here at Laserbeak's accessories. And he has a couple of laser cannons. These are apparently powered by ruby crystals. So it gives them their distinctive red color when they fire. And of course, on the back ends of them, there are some thrusters to help with his flight. Like a lot of the early Transformer weapons, the guns are very fragile, especially the gun barrels. They are very fragile. They break very easily. So you do have to be very careful when you are using them. And when you store them. But of course, there's also the propensity for chrome wear. As you can see here, the base on the one gun, the chrome has worn off completely. So, that's an issue only if that really is something you want to see all the time. Now, of course, here's Laserbeak. We'll take a look at his articulation. Laserbeak has a double-jointed neck. It's hinged at the base, so you can move his head up and down on it. And there's also one at the base of his head. So you can really get his head positioned in a lot of different places, different ways. Unfortunately, his head doesn't turn at all, so... It's also a fragile point because, as you can see, it's very thin plastic in there. There are many Laserbeaks, and his mold mate Buzzsaw suffers the same fate. His wings do have articulation at the base of the body and at the elbow, so you can adjust the wings to suit how you want him to look. Now, to transform Laserbeak, again, it's a very simple process. We straighten out his head at the neck, like so, and then very gently slide it inside all the way. You'll take his wings and you're going to fold and adjust them like so. So they rush up against the front of the body here. Then underneath we will come in here and we're going to fold his feet out to the sides. And then there you have it. He is in his cassette mode. I should say micro cassette mode. Micro cassettes were a big deal at one time in Japan. The idea was brought over here to the States for a while, but never really caught on. I guess we were just so used to the big is better thing, and it just never caught on. Whereas limited space in Japan, they like to do things micro. But hey, whatever works. I'm not one to judge, especially since I do have a fair number of friends from Japan. If I ever get the nerve to trust air travel, maybe I'll go sometime. Alright, there's Laserbeak back in his robot mode. And as you can imagine, Laserbeak, having been a prominent character, so long as they've continued to make Soundwave toys, Laserbeak has been bound to turn up once in a while. And again, while I do not have every Laserbeak toy, we do have a few of them that were made. Like starting here, we have the Siege version of Laserbeak. He was sold in a 2-pack with Rat-Bat. And it's kind of more of a futuristic stylized version of Laserbeak himself. But I think it looks pretty good. It's a serviceable version. It kind of shows one that's a little more robotic looking, so kind of looks a little more menacing. But he is a little bit smaller than the original Laserbeak. And while he's not intended to be the same character, Laserbeak did appear in Dark of the Moon. And I do have a couple of his studio figures. This is the core class version of Laserbeak. Even though basically he's just a repaint of Bumblebee. This served as a version of him that was in disguise, so that he could get close and kill somebody. Laserbeak was done up more as a cold-blooded killer in the live-action films instead of the coward that we all know and love. But Laserbeak was also done in his bird form. From that movie, he comes with the Studio Series version of Soundwave from Dark of the Moon. He basically serves as an extra figure and has very little articulation. So he just basically serves as an extra piece to just stand there, I guess. But being together with the other one, you definitely see some resemblance between the two. I noticed they went with more VTOL-style engines than the thrusters that the original one had, but all in all, he's still got the long neck, which is a signature trademark of Laserbeak, so I think that works. Alright, next up we're going to take a look at their package. And I do thank you, Larry, for holding on to this for me. It's not the best card for them, because as you can see it's all torn up down here at the bottom, but it is sort of serviceable. I'm not too picky on these. I don't expect to find them perfect. Of course, if they're more perfect, they cost more money to buy, so I'm not picky on that. And of course, on the back side, it has their instructions. Gives instructions here for Frenzy at the top, and then Laserbeak at the bottom. They label Frenzy's guns as thruster guns for some weird reason. Interesting. And as you can see, up here is the barcode that would have been scanned at the store, and the robot points we could collect at that time. Frenzy and Laserbeak were worth 1 point. And since this is an 85 card, it has instructions here for the rub sign. Now we'll come down here, we'll take a look at Laserbeak's card, since his is on top. We'll point out for both of them, the cards are done in purple, so it indicates they are Decepticons. It even says Decepticon. And the card art that they use here, it matches the artwork on the front of the package. For Laserbeak, it gives his function as interrogation. And then there's a quote that apparently is said by him. "The only point I like in Autobots, melting point." Laserbeak takes pleasure in hunting his prey, usually the straggling survivors of a battle. Noticeably not brave, will run for safety if threatened. Flies at speeds up to 250 miles per hour. Uses 2 independently targetable laser cannons with extreme precision to get information from captives. Shortage of ruby crystals that powers the lasers can panic his systems into shutting down. So it does emphasize that Laserbeak is a coward, and apparently his guns can be targeted very well if he has the time to do it. That's something you always get in the heat of battle. So we'll take a look here at the grid for his stats. Now usually you had to put a decoder over it, but I found that you can read it just as easily. It may not show up very well on the camera, but that's okay. It gives his strength as 5, his intelligence is 6, his speed is 7, his endurance is 5, his rank is 6, his courage is 2, his firepower is 8, and his skill is 9. So while he's relatively average on a lot of things, he is very good at his job, but it does fully emphasize with a courage of 2, he is a coward. Now down here for Frenzy, his function is warrior, which basically means he's just a soldier. And his quote is, "So panic and surrender will bloom." If Frenzy needed to breathe, war would be his oxygen. He knows no cause, only craves to spread fear and destruction. His efforts are appreciated by other Decepticons. His devotion to warfare makes him hard to deal with on a personal level. Can roll his drums to produce high-pitched grating sound of 200 decibels. Disorients and disrupts electrical flow in opponents' circuitry, which makes them malfunction. Physically weak. His manic attack can be countered with cool logic. So apparently Frenzy's not much of a thinker. But it also lists here about how he can create a disabling sonic attack, which is basically how he would generate his disorienting ability, not by making a physical quake on the ground. So I guess they thought making the pile drivers just look cooler on television. And back in the 80s, it probably did. Unfortunately, this sonic attack of Frenzy seems to have been forgotten about in the years that have come by. Looking now over here at his tech spec grid, it gives his strength at 3, his intelligence is 5, his speed is 3, his endurance is 5, his rank is also 5, his courage is 10, his firepower is 9, and his skill is 6. So while he is very brave and has the firepower to back it up, above all else, Frenzy's pretty average as a Transformer. So we get to my thoughts. What do I think of these guys, especially now in the modern era? I like both of them, really. Frenzy as an interesting warrior, being somebody that is totally devoted to battle. I just wish that his sonic attack would be something that would have remained with him. Unfortunately, time has moved on from it, and it's been forgotten about. Laserbeak has always been the coward of the group. And again, while I did enjoy seeing a sinister Laserbeak in Dark of the Moon, I would have preferred him to stay the coward that we all know that he is. The toy itself, for both of them, they're nice toys. Unfortunately, time has been cruel to them, since they are deteriorating after 40 years. However, if you can still find them in good shape, I would certainly recommend that you pick some up. But there are also a few modern versions of them that are probably a little better. So you can definitely, if you want to show them off to your kids, that would probably be one to go with. You certainly don't want to take a chance of these guys breaking. At any rate, that's my review of Frenzy and Laserbeak from Generation 1. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please do remember that if you love the content that we feature here on this channel, I would appreciate a like, a share, and a comment. And please do subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you ring the bell so you get notified when I post future Generation 1 content. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.